It's nice to have you all here. I really appreciate you making the time to meet me. Why doesn't everybody just tell us where they are at this moment? Because it's all different. And what you do, what your companies do. Ladies first.
Okay, let me start. Hi, this is Suzette from Orta, a very renowned denim fabric manufacturer located in Turkey. And I am also in Istanbul right now, in the headquarters of Orta, in the office, in our vintage showroom, actually, as you see all the vintage garments around me. I'm managing sales, marketing, innovation, and sustainability in the company, specifically. Thank you.
Your office would be a good place to rob with all those.
That's true.
We'll go with the men. We'll go alphabetically. John.
Hi, Andrew. John Condelis from Nobody Denim, located in Melbourne, currently in lockdown again. And unfortunately, we can't get out of Melbourne itself. We've actually had police patrols around different areas and other states, which I'm sure Shannon will enlighten us, are looking at us going, well, what are you guys doing down there? So my current position is co-founder, chairperson. I'm also head of innovation and strategy. And we're the only fully vertical integrated denim brand in Australia, from design concept right through distribution under one roof.
You have a factory as well.
Yeah, we've got a manufacturing facility as well as our laundry. And we've got a close partnership with Orta.
And do you export your jeans out of Australia? Where do
we do. We do export to the US, a little bit to Asia, and a little bit over to the UK.
Nice. And Shannon?
Yeah, hi, I'm Shannon. I actually work for the largest cotton producer in Australia. For today's call, however, I actually lead the Fibretrace business. My history, I've got 15 years of leadership roles across multiple industries, agriculture, retail, manufacturing, and have been very heavily involved in a number of those businesses, in taking them from startups into medium-sized businesses and large-scale businesses.
Thank you. John, I got to ask you the obvious question. How did you pick the name Nobody? What made you pick Nobody over somebody or something like that?
I've been asked this so many times. Why Nobody? They look at me, and every time I answer a phone call, it's John from Nobody. They go, sorry, who? What? Where are you from? I think it's embedded in our values. Nobody has never been about a face. There's no one person behind the brand. It's a collaboration, and this is where we take the play on the word nobody, where nobody cares, nobody but you, nobody was thirsty. There are so many different things and campaigns and activities that we've had around Nobody, but it's all about inspiring the confidence and the consumer. It's all about you. They're the most important person. It's not us. It's how we relate with our ambassadors, and that's who they are, and our communities. To actually develop what they really need, and how does the product help them?
Okay. And why do you produce in Australia? I mean, it seems to me you're awfully close to Indonesia. You know, most of the people think, well, let's make it cheaper and somewhere close by.
I get asked that question all the time. Why are you so crazy? What do you do to yourself? It's about, one is the values. Secondly, it's quality. Being close to the product, you actually know what happens to it. You can have better control of it. And I think we are, in some way or form, very intense control freaks, and we want to get the best of everything. So having it in fabric form, and you can form whatever you want when you need it, is important to us. Look, I've been over to Turkey at one stage, looked at Denim Village. I've been to China, but I just couldn't let go. It's our AP. We've grown up in the laundry, been in the laundry business for denim laundry for over 30 years. So trying to give that away, and that's where all the magic happens. It's just too difficult.
And do you have to import most of the components?
All the components. Unfortunately, in Australia, the only thing that is produced here out of Sydney are the zips. The majority of our fabric comes from Orta. and threads from coats from the reputable suppliers anyway. So yeah, the majority of the raw materials do come from overseas. But now, because we're working together with Fibre Trace, the cotton's Australian, so which is fantastic.
Well, that's the story we're going to come to. What is it about Shannon's cotton, Good Earth cotton, that you found compelling, and why Sundown Farms?
I remember the introduction when we were introduced to Danielle and Shannon, and the guys flew down to Melbourne. We hit it off. It was just build the relationship first, understand each other, trust each other. The rest fell into place. And knowing that they're one of the biggest cotton growers in Australia and a premium product, it was so aligned to what we do and what we deliver. I thought it was just a no-brainer. It just made sense. And here we are today, still continuing the relationship and building on that.
Okay, so thank you for that, Sedef. So last summer I was in Istanbul. I'm sorry that you weren't there when I was there, and went to explain the inquiry about Fibre Trace from John, and I dealt with one of the people in your company, and talked about using Good Earth cotton. And you guys basically took it up for them right away with Fibre Trace inside. What is it that made Orta want to say yes and to act so promptly and without any resistance? I mean, they're not the biggest buyers in the world, so you didn't get the quantity that you probably needed to run a proper laydown or any of those issues. But all the compelling reasons why a manufacturer can say no, you didn't say any of those things. You just did it. Why? What was that about? How did that happen so easily?
Well, a great question. Thank you. We definitely want to inspire and also get inspired from all parties, even if it's a brand, a designer, a supplier, even a farmer. And that's why it's in our DNA after pursuing this vision for a long time, challenging ourselves, trying new things and being pioneer in innovation. And with this thing in our DNA, we are always open to newness. And as you know, sustainability for Orta is a very long journey, and we were tracking what's happening in this area for a while under the name of transparency. And I remember at once reading an article at Wall Street Journal, Walmart's tracing their lettuce using blockchain technology, and I opened up the phone to our cotton director and asked him, how can we do that in cotton? That was the question that came to my mind at first. And then after coming and you being in Kayseri and discussing the same thing and seeing that it's already available, we definitely get excited about it. And we really would like to pursue it from the start. And what's happening from us, we always want to take a step back and see if the innovative steps that we're going to take will impact only a small portion of our business, or whether if it's impacting the whole supply chain, like a bigger impact even to the consumer for a better future. And this innovative approach with Nobody and Fibre Trace and Sundown was a project like that. So it's really important for us to see the whole life cycle of our products with a positive impact. And that's why it was really compelling to pursue the project.
And you guys run LCAs on all your fabrics. So
Yeah,
what brought you to do that, and how is that working?
Well, we have been doing it for 3 years, actually. We have an LCA lifecycle assessment expert in-house and a software. As I told you, we were always in this journey. We were using the raw materials and the processes as well, but you can't measure, you can't manage what you can't measure. That's the basic sentence we're pursuing. And in that sense, we definitely believe the value of data. And with LCA, you create quantitative and comparable data, one product to another. And this we really value. What's happening in LCA is starting from the raw material from cradle, you put the environmental impact of the product going forward at each step. And at the very end, if you get the data from the consumer, you will be having the whole life cycle data of one single product with the impact categories like carbon footprint, water usage, energy usage, and there are like several other impact categories that I can't even pronounce the names of that. But we have selected 5 impact categories, and we have started doing this. And after 3 years, a lot of data accumulated. And then we said, let's create something for design for sustainability, meaning even before producing the product, let's use the data that we have and create an app for the designers and for us also. Because when you're designing the product, you're making some selections, like the raw material selection, and then the dyeing technique selection, and how you process the fabric. Those are all the selections. And once you make the selection, the app provides you the values of those 5 impact categories that we have selected. And it's comparable to a standard denim that we have defined in our production. So you see, if you select fiber trace cotton or like carbon positive cotton versus a conventional cotton, once we get the data from the cotton producer, you see in numbers, what is the difference does it make to use carbon positive cotton versus a conventional cotton? Because we saw after like 3 years, the material choice is really important. I really don't want to repeat myself saying that cotton is a very thirsty product, really negative impact with pesticides, insecticides and fertilizers that is associated in growing cotton. So that's really important to be able to calculate the effect of the use of cotton, specifically for our case. I'm mentioning cotton all the time, and how the impact with your choice can be at the very end of the product. And it's amazing because once you use the data of this carbon positive cotton, it would decrease the carbon footprint of our product 30 to 50%, putting that in our product.
Say that again. Can you say that again slowly?
Using carbon positive cotton would decrease the overall carbon footprint of our product to 30 to 50%.
That's an enormous savings.
Yes, and we can calculate it using the LCA technology from one product to another based on the weight of the product, of course, the amount of cotton in the product. And it's amazing if you can just really extrapolate this to the global cotton production. That will be an amazing achievement in fight against climate change. That's how I think.
Well, there's 25 million, apparently something like 25 million farmers, so I'm not sure if there's more than that. And
we should start
calculating.
Yeah, but now with like transparency and traceability, we see that the good earth cotton can both get credibility from the third parties.
Yes.
And also traceability as it uses fiber trace. So it's really important to have both in the system. We can track it down even until the end of the gene's life. And it will be very interesting to witness this journey and its positive impacts. That's how I can see it.
Well, Shannon's been watching us talk, so now we're going to involve him. Shannon, can you explain what is Good Earth Cotton, and can you tell us about fiber trace just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we'll start with Good Earth Cotton. So we created the brand Good Earth Cotton because we've been measuring data for 20 years, and we knew that what we were doing in terms of being sustainable was something that we wanted to measure. And what we do now is we measure that with very, very specific data that it's attached. And we pinpoint that to actual locations, not regions, and can actually pinpoint field by field, crop by crop, the actual data that actually supports the growth of the cotton. That data has been independently verified by the University of Queensland, and we're currently getting that methodology third-party verified again. So we're quite confident in the measurement of carbon and soil sequestration that we have in the crop. So, you know, as I said, Good Earth cotton, it's a carbon positive crop, which means that our cotton actually sequesters more carbon into the soil than we actually emit. And we do this through effective regenerative farming techniques. So we do things like zero or minimum till, we use cover crops, we use rotational crops. And in a continent like Australia that's very, very dry, water is like liquid gold here in this country anyway. And so we focus very, very heavily on water use efficiency, and we do that through you know, years of investment in technology. And over those results, we've had 20 years worth of data we've been able to utilise and measure performance, and been able to improve water use efficiency year on year to be able to provide a high yielding crop that's actually carbon positive. So yeah, that's what Good Earth cotton is. And you know, we're starting with cotton, and obviously we've developed this fibre trace technology to be able to provide transparent cotton stories, but we want every fibre to tell the story, you know, be it cotton, viscose, wool, cashmere or leather. And so we've created this fibre trace technology to be able to be utilised as a tracing component through all of those different products, to be able to not only tell the story, but then, you know, with a lot of the work that's happening in mills like Order, etc., from a raw fibre perspective, actually have that LCA data that allows them to tell their story and allows to communicate with consumers an overall carbon score. And those that are doing the right things in the supply chain are rewarded for two reasons. One, they're rewarded internally because they're doing the right thing, and that's their motto, or that's their mission, and that's what drives them every day. And then two, it drives them from increased business, because people that are doing the right thing want to buy their products, or buy their cotton, or buy their fabrics, etc., etc. And so we're trying to create this collaborative of like-minded individuals, whether it be raw fibre producers or mills or manufacturers or brands, to create this ecosystem that provides the connection of a physical tracer, and then connecting that physical tracer with the digital world to be able to communicate with consumers. So that's a summary of the Good Earth cotton. I thought I would give very quick high-level demonstration of how the tech works. So
very complex.
It is and it isn't. And so, you know, we've been very lucky with our founders in that, you know, we've taken a couple of years to build this technology. And, you know, there's a number of technologies that are out there in the tracer space, be it DNA, be it isotope, but they're individual components of a bigger problem. What we've tried to do as a business, and what we've successfully achieved, is that, you know, we're the most advanced traceability solution on the planet, because what we do is we actually offer an end-to-end solution for the supply chain. We're not just the component of the tracer. We're not just the component of the blockchain. We've built the blockchain, we've built the tracer, and we've been able to provide that end-to-end solution. And we've been lucky that, you know, we haven't had to go to market straight away. We wanted to get it right, and we wanted to build it. And so the technology starts with a pigment, which is a powder product, which looks like this. And in cotton, what we do is we convert that. Yeah, it does look a little bit like that. It's fun traveling around airports when I want to take it through. So
you don't have to worry about that
anymore. Yeah. So it's totally harmless. You can eat it. It's actually the USDA has classed it as grass. So they're actually utilising this technology now on tracing food. The lettuce, as you said, was probably some of the products that they're using is this. And then what we do is we convert that to a viscose fibre that's sourced ethically, and we from FSC forests, and then we convert that to a sliver, and we blend that sliver in at the gin for cotton. And then once we've blended it into the cotton, every other process through the supply chain remains the same. So there's no requirement to do anything different, whether it be a spinner, weaver, dyer. it acts the exact same way. It runs in the product at 0.01%, so it's like less than dust in terms of its component input into the cotton fiber.
Can I interrupt
And
you?
then once...
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Do you agree? Is there no problem with it once you get it?
No. It was a regular process for us once we
All right.
get the
Just want to
cotton.
verify
that was
Janet's presentation.
Yeah, so, and then once we've embedded it into the cotton, as I said, it just operates as per normal, even through the garment processing itself in terms of, hand feel, all of those things. There's zero impact to dyeing, finishing, any of that. And that's because, as I said, it runs at such low concentration levels. And so what we do then is through the process, we have these little handheld scanners. And we've got two types. We've got a little handheld scanner, which is just a little square box. And then each person in the supply chain through their QC process would have one of those, and they would connect this to our platform. Or in bigger processes, as we can create what's called an inline reader, and that doesn't require any human intervention. It just automatically links to the supply chain once they've installed it. So at order, we haven't done this yet, but in the future we could look at having an inline reader that just sits on their machine, and they'd have no involvement whatsoever other than the scan would take place at whatever intervals that the consumer or the brand-driven requirement would be. And then once we've created the fabric, we scan the fabric, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So I've got two pieces of fabric here, and this is what the scanner looks like internally. It's obviously there's a lot going on in there. And you can see there's two lights. There's the blue light, which says that it's on. It's a dark blue light. And then there's the little red light. And the red light just means that I've connected that to Bluetooth. And then what we do is here on a piece of fabric that has fiber trace in it, you'll see that the item goes green, that it's the fiber trace is inside there. And once it's inside there, it sends a signal to our platform for the brand, and then the brand would see on the blockchain that it was scanned by this person at this time. They'll see exactly on the world map in real time where that product is. And then, alternatively, here's another piece of fabric that doesn't have fiber trace in it, and what you'll see here, it'll go light blue. Hopefully you can see that.
I can't see that. Can you raise it? There you go. Thank you.
It goes light blue because there's nothing inside it. And so when that does that, it would send a signal off to the platform to say that we've taken a measurement of the fiber, and the actual fiber that potentially you purchased is not actually in there. And that could be for a number of reasons, whether it was blended, et cetera, and we can provide, multiple data, either that it's verified that it's in there, right down to blend levels and blend ratios between fibers. So for example, if we were tracing recycled polyester and we were tracing cotton, we would be able to tell them that not only was the fabric fiber trace, but as per the brand requirement that they potentially wanted, for argument's sake, 10% recycled polyester, we'd be able to tell that blend rate. So, there's multiple things that the fiber trace technology can offer, but depending on the information that you want.
Okay, I think it's compelling. So just as a short summary, so basically on the blockchain, it would show theoretically that this was scanned in the bale and give you the bale number. This was scanned in the yarn at Orta. This is scanned in the fabric when the fabric is made, and this is scanned when it arrives to the garment factory, and the garment can be scanned and show that it is what it is, as everyone promised along the supply chain, without anyone really doing a big amount of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then at the end of that, depending on how much information the brand wants to convey to the consumer around transparency, we actually allow them then to link to the platform and then pull that data to be able to communicate that with the consumer. So a consumer can log on via their phone to a unique QR code or whatever they would like, the brand would like, and then we would give them access to our blockchain data that could provide a world map, and the consumer could see that it was produced at whatever farm, and this was the story of the farm. It was produced at Orta, and these are the sustainability credentials around that, and then it moved to Melbourne, and it was made locally, et cetera, and a consumer could see that journey. And so we've been able, as I said, from an end-to-end solution, we've created not only the B2B component, but we've tried to create a consumer interaction piece. So we've solved the puzzle in terms of a total traceability and transparency solution for brands.
All right, so the big question is to John. Does this work for you? Do you sell more garments? Is it selling? What's the point of it?
I mean, due to everything that's just happened, or it's been happening the last few months.
Yeah.
Bad
timing. Bad timing.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Well, look, I'm going to say
The malls aren't open, right?
Yeah, well, it's not bad timing. I think it's we're talking more and more about it, and people are excited because that's the one thing that attracted us to Fibertrace and to Good Earth Cotton was the value proposition. What does this deliver? And it was about our values of community, transparency, honesty, authenticity, all those key things that we want our consumers to know was critical. So we're really excited about launching it in, I think it's September, October, somewhere in those 2 months. And people are extremely excited. And just everyone knowing that where this come from, where the journey that it's been on and where it's going to go is critical, and especially today.
You have a consumer software to go to provide for the customer as well?
Yeah, we're creating that now, we're organising that, that's right, yeah.
So they'll be able to go in the store and if they want. One of my friends says that every consumer has a human right to know everything about every product. So your consumers will be granted that human right.
Correct.
That's
I mean, it's so important. That's what they thrive on. Everyone wants to know what is going on, what is it about their product, where has it been, where is it going, and what's its final destination, what's its use, and how long is it going to last for. I think it's circular fashion, as we know, that's where it's all heading. So it's extremely important. And the guys have come up with an amazing product that creates that transparency and gives everyone an opportunity to be on that journey.
Suzette, the big question for you is you've used it, you've done it. What do you think of it?
Well, as John said,
I don't mean just personally, you know, oh, I really like it. I mean, professionally, is it a sensible tool for your company and a sensible tool for the industry?
There are some challenges, of course. There are always challenges if you want to be a pioneer and innovative company in the sector, like the leading one. But as it goes through, since transparency is one of our key elements in our philosophy, as John described as values, this was really important for us because it's exciting to see how transparency and traceability has shifted from basic data sharing, because that's what we've been doing, like sharing data with Excel tables and etc., to like these techniques with codes and barcodes and see the actions about it. Because with the basic data, it's always challenging for the brands to communicate it with the consumers. And with the aid of Fibertrace technology, now it's really easy to really compare, communicate, and share all the data with the consumers as well. So an interchange between parties too, maybe, and not only with the consumers, but also between the parties. And I see it very exciting to incorporate the recycled cotton data also in the total blend, because there are always questions about the raw materials that we're using in the product in itself. And I think it's really exciting to see how this is evolving. We are at the beginning right now, but this will continue with like a higher speed, I hope. And I really believe that this project, we can actually have a positive impact on the environment with the use of carbon positive cotton as well, while tracing it back to farm. It's a very good example of resilient thinking that we've been discussing since the beginning of pandemic, to seeing that we definitely need to reassess every practice, every process we've been in place in textiles world to ensure that we are proactive, not reactive to the unforeseen forces, and sharing the good feeling that we're all in this together. So yes, I believe in this technology.
Thank you. Shannon, I'm going to give you the last word. So are these guys complicated to work with, or was it easy?
Oh, look, it's you've just heard from the conversations then. It's not hard when you find like-minded people with a common goal. You know, so with this in mind, it was just as easy as understanding what the goals of Nobody was, which was, you know, telling the story of transparency, telling the story of sustainability, ensuring that their brand, their mill partner was included in that. To, you know, they partnered with Order for a reason, because of the work that they do around sustainability, and they wanted to share that story as well. You know, and then of course, from a branding perspective, there was certainly an Australian slant to it, in that its cotton was going out, and then coming back and then being finished here in this country. And so having that, you know, that goal, and then having those like-minded people trying to achieve that goal together, it was super easy. And I think, you know, as Suzette said, it wasn't as easy as it sounds, because, you know, John's not, you know, he's not a global, you know, in terms of volume, and it meant that, you know, us sending the cotton over to Orta meant that they had to hold some cotton, and they had to run a special run, and, you know, it wasn't part of their normal day-to-day life, because it wasn't consistently feeding in good earth cotton that was carbon positive into everything that they made. And so there were hurdles there, but those hurdles were overcome, because the you know, the benefit of pioneering and the benefit of trying to make it work, and then seeing then how we could actually scale that and roll it out, you know, was evident, and we've been able to achieve it.
All right, thank you very much. I want to thank John and Shannon and Suzette for the great conversation. Appreciate you guys coming on and helping the Transformers Foundation. I hope people watching this like it and get inspired. Thank you very much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Nice chat.
We're back. Well, it's
It was great.
1:30 in the morning in Brisbane, Australia. So Shannon from Fibertrace is not here to answer the question. So I'll answer whatever question you have. Yeah, go ahead, unless you have the answer.
That's great, Andrew. So we have a very interesting question from Crispin. It says, it's clear that the sustainability benefits of having traceability, but what are the commercial benefits of traceability when it comes to identifying risk and costs?
Well, I always answer questions like that with a rhetorical. What is the risk of not knowing where your stuff is from? So we've had this case in China, as you know. We have other cases that go on. For instance, Bangladesh, they import a huge quantity of Uzbekistani cotton, but no one I've ever met says they use it. So that's really always been perplexing to me. So the fact of the matter is there's all sorts of cotton being used by people all over the place, and they probably just don't know what is inside. And there is no system really historically to trace cotton for any order. So I think short of this, there's no real answer. So I'm very excited about this technology. I hate the word excited. This is the right technology for the industry to use because it answers all the questions. There's nothing else to replace it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure if you've seen Bax's question, but I'll read it out loud. And if we don't have the answer, then we can just text Shannon and ask him. So how can you be sure that Fibertrace silver is being evenly blended at the gin?
Sliver.
Especially
the sliver, not the silver. There's no silver, it's sliver.
Sliver, sorry. Especially my Italian sometimes overlaps with in my brain. Especially if this is occurring at multiple gins with multiple managers and multiple shifts. How can you accurately measure the percentage of Fibertrace cotton in a garment, not just the presence of it?
We use a minuscule amount of, as Shannon said in the video, we use a minuscule amount of Fibertrace that is inserted. It's very expensive, the Fibertrace, but there's such a tiny quantity put in. It's inserted ideally in the gin. So you just simply do it by weight and you measure it. And there's a machine that we've developed, or that Fibertrace has developed. And that machine inserts it during the ginning process, and everyone knows by weight and by the cost exactly how much is inserted.
Right. And I think we are out of time for questions.
He's asking another question. And he asked, in that same question, he asked about different gins. Well, different gins have to operate the same way. That's all. So it just depends on the gin, but each individual gin has to deal with it the same way.
Yeah, right. And so I think, Andrew, we're out of time for questions, and well, we don't have any questions left anyway. But I would like to, before we take a break, our 10-minute break, I would like just to tell all our attendees who our next speakers are. So our next speaker will be Jane Palmer from Nature Coatings, a startup that is transforming wood waste into black pigment. And then we have Jorgen Sevild from Incovat Technology, which is a digital consulting, and Darren Glenister from Material Exchange, which is the new digital experience to manage materials. And then we have a great panel with Jordan from Boyish Denim, Anna Foster from ELB Denim, and Tony from Kings of Indigo, and they'll be discussing their visionary brands and how they embed sustainability into their strategies. So yeah, over to you, Andrew.
10, we'll be back. It's now 11:38. We'll be back in 7 minutes. And this will be over, this whole event will be over at 1 o'clock. So we'll stick to our time. So if everybody just wants to have a little break, we'll see you in 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you.